Morning, guys. Well, so we finished to talk about inorganic compounds. Inorganic compounds, as you remember, we have inorganic oxides, inorganic hydroxides, acids, and salts. Where can you see that or those compounds related? Here in the chemical reactions, right? Why? Because in chemical reactions you can observe many changes. So, what is a chemical reaction? Please don't forget to write this. A chemical reaction is the main process where you can see how a chemical compound change its structure, okay? The structure of a chemical compound is modified, is changed, is transformed. So, for example, if you boil water, you are not doing a chemical reaction. You are doing a physical process because water can be H2O in solid, liquid, or gas. So, it is not a chemical process. While a chemical process, for example, is when you burn something, okay? You are changing the main chemical structure, okay? Both processes you can see with your eyes. I mean, you can observe this. But just the the boiling doesn't change the structure, the main structure of this. Okay, so for that reason it is considered as physical, and chemical is, for example, when you burn, because you change the chemical structure of this. How can we represent a chemical reaction? In a chemical equation, right? So chemical equations are the representation of the chemical reactions. I mean, a chemical reaction is a process in the real life. A chemical equation is the process in the paper, right? Because it's the representation. How can, the main structure of a chemical reaction or a chemical equation is based on this. So you will have two main parts. The first one, the reagents, or the reactants, okay? Reagents or reactants. And the second part, the products. For example, in your recipe, your ingredients were your reagents, and the main product that you had is a product, okay? Always reagents and products. You can have one or more reagent and one or more product, depending on the type of reaction that we have, okay? The main meaning of the arrow is no arrow, or that you can read A plus B arrow. No. The main meaning of this, when you read a reaction or an equation, is produce. Okay? The meaning of this plus is reacts to. So A reacts to B, or A reacts with B, okay? To produce C and D, for example, here this plus is used to separate. Okay, it is used to separate. So, for example, if you have C, D, and E, that's the way. It produces C, D, and E. No C plus D or C reaction with D, because it is not exist. Okay? What is the meaning of these numbers? So, these numbers, the red numbers, don't forget this, or the red letters. So, A, B, C, and D. These represent a stoichiometry coefficients. So, what is the meaning of the stoichiometric coefficients? The meaning of this is mole. How many mole of each compound do I have in a reaction or an equation? So, for example, here I have this one. In this case, for example, as you don't have numbers here, it means you have 1 mole, okay? Don't forget it. But here, the balance reaction is this. So here we can say, okay, I have 1 mole of ferric oxide reacting with 2 moles of water. It produces 2 moles of ferric hydroxide, right? So that's the main meaning of the numbers, okay? Don't forget to copy everything, guys. The other letter that you have here, for example, this, okay, that are in green color. So, when I have this, we are talking about states of each element. So, states. You know, states are liquid, solid, gaseous state, and this one that is very important for me, aqueous solution. What is an aqueous solution? An aqueous solution is when you dissolve something in water. So, for example, sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is solid, okay? You know, it is a table salt. It is solid. But if I dissolve sodium chloride in water, I cannot say, okay, now the sodium chloride is liquid. No, the sodium chloride dissolved in water, it's in an aqueous solution. And you must take into account that if it is aqueous solution, aqueous means water, okay? So aqueous solution will be always dissolved in water. Other thing that you can find here, for example, on the arrow, you can find this, okay? Or the triangle, or a substance, okay? On or below the arrow. So what is the meaning of this? The meaning of this is a catalyzer. A catalyzer is a substance in the case of this, or in the case of this is heat, okay? It's something that helps to make faster the reaction, okay? To accelerate the reaction. It makes faster. For example, when you cook. When you cook, the main catalyzer was the heat, okay? So remember, the triangle represents heat, okay? And some reactions need heat to be produced, okay? Other symbols that you can find, for example, you can find this arrow here and other type of arrows, for example. One of them, okay, not both, one of them. When you find the arrow in this way, this arrow will represent evaporation. So, you always will find that arrow next to gases, substances. So, for example, hydrogen, for example, oxygen, for example, water, when it's a vapor, okay? But usually it is in the product part, okay? Because it produce something that it's evaporated. And the other one, you have the arrow in this way, that it represents the opposite. So the opposite is the precipitation. For example, when you, I know that you have listened something about el cuncho del tinto. That cuncho, okay, quotations, that cuncho represents a precipitation, okay? So you have the main idea is you don't say the cuncho, no, it is precipitated, right? So that's the main idea. And those are the main structures and symbols that you can find in a chemical reaction. The next video will show you the different types of reaction. I suppose that you copy everything. Please don't forget it. Thank you very much, guys.